evening, everyone, and welcome to the Joel Taylor Show here on the porch at Jefferson's in Carrollton. There we go. I'm Patrick Edson, along with head coach Joel Taylor. Coach, how are you doing tonight?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm better today than I was on Sunday and Monday. But now I'm fine. The team's fine. Just excited to kind of get this going and get to Saturday.
And the final score, unfortunately, on Saturday, the Wolves fall 44-30. Yesterday in your press conference, I did get to watch that. You indicated, let me read the quote. How do you focus your team and get them to move forward after a loss like you had last weekend?
Man, it's easy. Losing is the best motivator there is.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we won 5 straight ball games, which was a really, really good feat. And when you win, sometimes it's hard to, I guess, clean up the mistakes. Right? Hey, coach, I won. Hey, we won the game. We good. And then at the end of the day, I thought the theme for us was death of 1,000 cuts. There's a lot of little things that happened in that Austin Peay game. I give credit to Austin Peay. They won that football game. But that was a game that I felt like we should have won. We were good enough to win that football game, but we didn't do the little things well enough to win the ball game.
Coach, I know the one question that everybody on this porch tonight wants to ask, so I'll go ahead and ask it. Davin Widener, of course, he went down in that third quarter. How's Davin feeling, and what's his status going into the game Saturday against Abilene Christian?
Yeah, I think Davin's fine. We can actually put Davin back in the game on Saturday, but if he would have landed on his shoulder wrong, it could have been worse, right? So I made the decision not to put him back in the game. Davin went through, everything, imaging, MRI, all that good stuff. I think everything's pretty much clean. He'll start throwing probably tomorrow, Thursday, hopefully, and he'll be just fine for the game. So we're excited about it. But honestly, if we got to go in there with Colton. I got all the faith in the world in Colton. He's going to be just fine. One of the things I told our team, it doesn't matter who goes down, right? It could be quarterback, it could be running back, it could be, a defensive lineman. At the end of the day, when that happens, we got to raise our level of play. And at the quarterback position, we have to do a great job of making his job a little easier. We had a couple drop balls. We didn't do a great job on the interception of spacing the field for him. So there's a lot of little things that we can do to help, Colton. And the one thing about Colton now, once he gets in the groove, his groove is there going really good now. So we got to help him do that.
Coach, one thing that I recognized on Saturday night, and I'm sure you recognize it and your staff recognize it. What's the one thing that you and your staff pulled out of the game? Because I know what I recognized, and that your team did not quit on the field Saturday.
Yeah, I don't think our team will ever quit. It doesn't matter if we're down 100. It does not matter, man. We're going to go out there and give our best effort. Now, that was a game, like I said, we should have won that game, right? We were in that game, all the way to the end. But at the end of the day, what we took from it is we got to get better at the little things, And like I said, little things turn into big things. And like I said, I thought it was a death of 1,000 cuts. A lot of things that we have not messed up on, we messed up on. We had a block PAT, right, for a score. Things of that nature, man. We had an interception for, a touchdown. So we had we fumbled a punt. So there was a lot of little things, where we didn't put ourselves in the best position to win that football game. And I hope, a loss is only a loss, right, if you don't learn from that loss.
Right.
Right. So I'm hoping our guys learn from that loss, and I think they did, man. We had a tremendous practice, great energy, on Monday. We had a solid practice today, and then we got to have a great practice tomorrow, and then Thursday for us is a walkthrough. We call that Think the Game Thursdays, right? So we want to visualize ourselves making those type of plays, and then we'll have our Fast Friday, and we'll be ready to go on Saturday. So, but I got all the faith, like when you see our team that they're never going to give up, well, that's the same team that's going to come back and fight, right, to win this next ball game. And super, super excited for our team. But like I said, at the end of the day, a loss, right, magnifies some things, but it also motivates you to clean up those things.
What do you think is the biggest thing that you and your team, you and your staff saw on film that you said, all right, guys, we've got to really go and correct this week?
Yeah, I'm just going to go back. There's no one particular thing. There's no one particular thing. When you look at it, we go into the half 16-16, okay? I think it was an exciting half. Too exciting for me, I'll be honest, okay? But we go in the half, basically 0-0. So we come out of that, they come down and score, and then all of a sudden we score 14 unanswered points, right? Well, all the momentum is daggone gone. It's our way, all of it, right? Well, they kick a daggone punt, and it's a short punt, and our returner makes a great decision, right? He actually makes a great decision. We always say you play it off the bounce, you save us about 10 yards, but we didn't do a great job with the execution, right? So he fumbles the ball, and now they have life, right? So we were up 30-23, then they eventually scored. Now on that scoring drive, right, we got them down to a 3rd and 5.
Right.
Okay, so we got them to a 3rd and 5. You hold them, right? They kick a field goal, right? But we gave up a 17-yard run down in the 1-yard line. They eventually score, right? And then after that, we actually drove the ball down, right? We get down to the 35, and we actually worked this scenario on Thursday. So we get down there, and the operation wasn't great, right? We had our kicker coming from the other side of the field, so we had to get set up. So as he's doing that, the time is going down, right? And, I got a decision to make. Do I call timeout and let him kick that 49, 50-yard field goal, right? Or do I save my timeout, right? Because we had 2 timeouts. And, I decided to save the timeout, take the delay of game, and hopefully pin them inside the 10. Well, we put them on the 15, and then 2 plays later, they run a wheel out the backfield where we got to cut that guy off, which we don't, okay? We got to cut him off, the day one things. And that goes for 84 yards, and that changed the game, So, like I said, there's no, one particular thing. Like I said, I think it was a death of 1,000 cuts. Like I said, we felt like we should have won that game, but you got to go and win that game, right? Now, I would have loved to have Davin in that 4th quarter. We know how Davin does in that 4th quarter, but, we didn't have him. And, we got to do a good job, like I said, of helping our quarterback, help us win that football game. And, unfortunately, it didn't happen. Unfortunately, we're not going to go, 11-0. Okay, maybe 10-1. I don't know, but we'll see.
10-1 sounds good. All right, I like that, Coach. All right, fans. When we come back from this next break, we will have Brody Ballou, offensive lineman for your West Georgia Wolves, next here on the Joel Taylor Show. Welcome back to the Joel Taylor Show here on the porch at Jefferson's here in Carrollton. I want to ask the crowd to give a round of applause, and to our waiters and waitresses, be sure to thank them tonight as they're serving you here on the porch. And I am sitting here with Wolves offensive tackle Brody Ballou. Brody, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. How about y'all?
Man, it's a great night, right? To be on the porch here at Jefferson's, and Brody, that's awful. Careful is right. So, Brody, you transferred in from Furman to Carrollton, so I believe that was back in the spring, if I'm not mistaken.
It was.
Yep. So, what's been the biggest difference for Brody coming from Furman to West Georgia?
I think it's just the ability. Coach Taylor brought me in the spring, and just earning my stripes. You got to come in, you have to do your what you're good at, and what he brought me here to do, and I think that's been the biggest difference. Is he's gave me a shot.
Brody, you and the offensive line, your teammates this year, have played extremely well, have led one of the better running attacks in the UAC, and really in Division I FCS football. What has it taken from you and your teammates? What's been the commitment like to provide those run lanes for Latrell and TJ and for Davin? And what's your relationship like with those guys?
Oh, those guys, they're our guys. We want to protect them at all moments. And, it's just we're a team. Everybody wants to win. So that's really the commitment. And, Coach Davis, he comes out, he calls great plays, and we just have to execute. And, we come together as a group and do our thing.
Brody, academically, I believe you were a academic All-American or a conference selection in 23 and 24 at your time in Furman. What do you plan to study while you're here at West Georgia?
So I'm going to do business management. I think that's where I want to go. I want to own my own business one day.
I think there are a couple of folks in this crowd that can help you out with that.
Oh,
Yeah, Troy.
There we go.
Yeah, absolutely.
hopefully I can talk to y'all after this.
That's right.
No, but I really want to own my own business one day. I don't really know what yet. Hopefully in the sports world, I think that'd be great. That's kind of what I've done my whole life is sports. So that'd be awesome. But anywhere that I can just go in and work and like I said, earn my stripes.
At from Furman to Carrollton, what's been the biggest difference in the coaching staff? I haven't asked that question yet. What's been the biggest difference in the coaches between Furman and Carrollton?
I think that I had some great coaches there, but I think I have some really great coaches here. Like I said, they've given me a shot, and I'm ultimately grateful for that. But I'm just I'm grateful to be here.
That's awesome. That's a great answer. You always want to make sure you brag on the coaches that you play for
No doubt.
in the current moment, right?
No doubt.
All right. Well, be sure to get you some wings or something because you look a little tepid. You might need something to eat. I mean, you're only 6'6", 295. So, yeah that's right. So be sure you get something good to eat while you're at Jefferson tonight. Thanks for being with us here on the Joel Taylor Show. And when we come back, it'll be the audience turn to ask questions of the coach here on the Joel Taylor Show. All right, fans, welcome back to the Joel Taylor Show. I'm Patrick Henson along with head coach Joel Taylor. And now it's time for the fans to grill Coach Taylor here at Jefferson's in Carrollton. So Jared Bogus, our associate athletic. No, just Jared Bogus. Okay, Jared. I was going to try to be nice and throw his title, but he don't want none of that. So, all right. So if you've got a question, throw your hand up, and Jared will come to you. And here's our first question for head coach Joel Taylor.
Get right up on it. Yeah, just right there.
All right, Coach. I know coaches don't like excuses, but can you talk about back-to-back travel weeks and how much of an impact that has on the team and players and coaches?
Yeah, it has an effect because you don't get a chance to sleep in your own bed, But at the end of the day, everybody has to do it. Like you said, I never want to make that as an excuse. Like I said, we had some tough trips. You had to go to Utah, and then you had to, ride up to Austin Peay, which is in Tennessee. But I don't think that had any effect on our play. I would like not to think that, but. It is tough, but I'm so glad to be back home, get a chance to play Abilene Christian here in front of our fans on Saturday. I think that'll be a tremendous thrill for our kids and our community. You got two ranked teams getting ready to play this game, and what more do you want? It's going to be a really good football game, so we're excited about that.
Yeah, Coach, I believe it's the first ever game between ranked opponents in the history of University Stadium and Rayland Field, if I'm not mistaken.
FCS.
Yes. All right.
Yeah.
So, awesome.
All right.
Anyone else with a question? Don't be shy. Coach Taylor doesn't bite, I promise.
It's different this week.
Okay. Coach, one of the things that happened to us Saturday night happens to just about every team at every level at some point, and that's the number one quarterback going down and having to put in the backup. And of course, when they go in, we expect them to play well and with not much of a drop off, even though they haven't played much as the season goes along. So the question is as the season goes along, is there any thought to giving the backup some snaps or a few series to where they'll feel more comfortable when they actually have to go into a game?
That's a tremendous question. It really is. That was one of the things that I actually talked to our offensive coordinator about. Austin Davis. So there were some games, early in the year where we were actually up. You could say the Sanford game.
Right.
We threw Colton in there, but we actually just hand the ball off. Right. Well, my thinking was like you didn't want to run up the score. Got a lot of respect for Hatch, but at the end of the day, in hindsight, you want to get your quarterback ready. So I think that's a lesson that I've learned, as a head coach. So, anytime we get an opportunity to put our, backup quarterback in there, we got to get him ready just in case, our starter goes down, which we never want to happen. But like you said, at some point in the season, that's going to happen to somebody. Like I said, but that's a lesson that I've learned. That's something that we've talked about, and that's something that we will do in the future if we are up on our opponent. And I just got to apologize to the head coach if we do score. So that's what it is.
Coach, to follow up on that question, a lot of times you hear coaches or analysts talk about mental reps that a backup might do. Is that something that you might emphasize with Colton or any of your team as they go through the season?
Well, you should ask the players that question. I'll tell you that, right? So one of the things, man, I was impressed early on in my football, career. I got a chance to go up to see the Carolina Panthers play. And I say play, practice, I should say.
Right.
And that's the time when Luke Kuechly was, the linebacker there. And when Luke Kuechly was not in, right? He's he's an all-pro. He got all these accolades. And I see Luke Kuechly behind the backup linebacker taking the same exact steps, right? Those are mental reps. And that's the one thing that we harp on our kids. Every rep is a mental rep for you. So we always try to emphasize that with our young people, because at the end of the day, man, like mental reps, because that builds the muscle memory, at the end of the day. So you'll always kind of see guys, especially defensively, if we're not like truly throwing the ball, you see those guys wrap behind them, moving in the same sequence, everything. And the quarterback does the same thing. He's behind, moving the same sequence, man. But reps are so important in the development process for a young man, and that's what we are. We are a developmental laboratory, I like to say.
Right.
So yes, we stress that very, very much in our program.
Right. All right, another question for Coach Taylor. Going once. Oh, here we go. All right.
Coach, I know you kind of touched on it earlier. A lot of coaches say they can learn a lot about their team after a loss. Excuse me. What do you feel like you've learned these last 3 days about your bunch?
I think everybody knows this already, but we got a resilient bunch. At the end of the day, man. We've seen that throughout the season. Like I said, when we walked in on Monday, at the end of the day, we were sad. We went through the tape. I got after them a little bit, and then all of a sudden we hit the field and we were rolling. So we got a resilient bunch, and they are excited about the opportunity to show, right? What we have learned, from the previous game. And I told the guys, man, when we gonna go, through a week, and I tell you guys all the time, it's it's all about the preparation. I think our preparation will be a lot more sharper, right? But we gotta prepare to put ourselves in position to win. Just because we prepare well doesn't mean we're going to win. We have to execute on Saturdays, and the guys know that, we didn't execute last Saturday, so we got to clean those things up. But like I said, we got a resilient bunch. We got a good bunch of kids. We got kids that, want to, they're going to be successful, and they know we have a good football team. And last week I actually told them, do you know the dang enemy of great, is knowing that you're good, Right. And we're striving to be great, and hopefully they're going to have an opportunity to play for a USC championship at the end of it. So, like I said, our kids are a resilient bunch. They're a really good bunch, right? Really good football players, and just like I said, they're excited to show you guys, hey, what we've learned.
All right. And we do. Oh yeah, we've got two more. So we got one in the back, and then we'll come to the front there.
Coach, have you heard anything from the players that were here last year telling the new guys about this team that they're going up against this week, revenge, any sort of get right, about just from a year ago that, maybe the new guys aren't aware of?
No, not necessarily. I think I've kind of, said all that stuff, like in preseason camp, in the spring. Because what we try to do is we actually try to learn from, like I said, our losses, and last year we were in a lot of tight games last year, and we thought Abilene was one of them. Last year I think it was like a 4th and 1, a 4th and 2. We go 4-by-1, and we throw the slant to Carmelo on the backside, and we're down by 7. Carmelo drops it. If he catches it, man, he scores, and it's a 0-0 game again, right, late in the third quarter. And then the next play, the exact next play, they catch a sail route and go 70 yards. So you're talking about a 14-point swing like that, you know. So like I said, we try to learn from those things, so the kids, know about that. But nobody has said, revenge or anything of that nature to the young guys. At the end of the day, like I always try to preach every opponent is different, right? That last year team, right? It's not the same team. It's just not. I don't know if they're better. I don't know if they're worse, right? But we got to bring our best, okay? And if we don't, we're going to mess around and they ain't going to lose. So I think that's, super important to just look at it as a 1-0, and we want to do that 5 times in a row.
Coach, this is really a simple, easy question for me. But it's about putting things behind you.
Yeah.
How quick that can happen can determine the next solid step you go forward to achieving the go. And I want to encourage us fans, we got to forget it also. We got to go, it's there, it's done. We can't do anything about that game, but we got to go forward.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, great question. And it's really, as a player, and me coaching a player, it's really not about, getting past a game, right? We try to teach our players to get past the play. It's a lot of times where a young man may mess up. Well, you can't let that mess up affect the next play, right? Because that's going to affect the rest of the game. So we try to dang on instill that in our young people there. So if you can get that done, well, you can get past a game. But I do agree with you as far as fans as well. At the end of the day, you gotta love us or you hate us. It doesn't matter if we were sitting here, 1-5 or 5-1. At the end of the day, we're gonna try to give our best foot forward at each and every game. Thank God that we're 5-1. I like that. But that doesn't change how we're gonna attack. It doesn't change how we're gonna run our program. And I told our young guys this is like, if we lose a game, does that mean we change what we do and how we do it? No, right? You double down on what you do, right? Because it got us to 5-1. And you never want to change what you're doing, because what I think that does is makes you a Frankenstein type of program, and we'll never be that, right? I believe in certain things, and that's just what it's going to be. At the end of the season, we may change, right? But during the season, we are who we are.
All right. Well, that's the final question of the Grill Coach Taylor session tonight here on the porch at Jefferson's. When we come back, we will take a look at this week's opponent, the Abilene Christian Wildcats, next on the Joel Taylor Show. All right, fans, welcome back to the Joel Taylor Show here on the porch at Jefferson's. Let's thank Jefferson's one more time for allowing us to be here tonight on the back porch, and we thank Jefferson's for their sponsorship. And Coach, this Saturday, it's another chance, another opportunity to go 1-0 as Abilene Christian comes to town here for Hall of Fame weekend at University Stadium.
Yeah, should be a great weekend. Should be a great crowd. I love Hall of Fame weekend, man, because you got people that's entering the Hall of Fame. They've done some great things. Actually, my sister was inducted to the her high school Hall of Fame 3 weeks ago. I couldn't go, but she's a basketball player, so she was pretty good. So she is now the best athlete in the house.
Oh, absolutely.
No, but should be a great weekend. Get a chance to honor those the ones that have done great things here at the University of West Georgia. Excited to see them. And honor them, and like I said, it should be a good crowd. Like I said, you got 2 ranked teams, 2 really good teams coming. So excited to see the crowd show up. I know our kids are excited to play in this game. Like I said, get this stank off of us a little bit, and that's the only way you can do it is go out and play.
Abilene Christian's 2-0 in the conference. They had a really impressive win last week over North Alabama. They come in kind of hot and on a roll.
Yeah, yeah. And like I said, Abilene's a good ball club, and at the end of the day, they are the champions, right? They won a championship last year, and until somebody there going, beats them out of it, they're the champions. And they did a really good job. They had a really good run last year. I think Coach Keith Patterson does a really good job, man. He's an old defensive guy. So they're going to play tough on defense. I think he brought in a high-profile, offensive coordinator in Graham Harrell. So they're scoring some points. So it's going to be a really good game. I think, when you talk about both sides of the ball, I think, offensively, they got a quarterback that makes some really good decisions, man. He makes a decision, he goes with it, gets the ball out fast. He got a group of wide receivers that are solid. Number 1 and 14 can run. So when they get the ball in their hands now, we got to do a good job of staying on top of them. And then running back by committee, they got about 3 backs. I think the top is like, close to 300 yards. The next one's like around 200 yards.
Right, that's correct.
You know what I mean? So they got a running back by committee. Then the offensive line is solid. You guys will be impressed by their left tackle. I mean, he's like 6'9", number 77, man. And he moves well, too, but they're solid up front, too. That was one of the things that, when we went up there last year, or I should say down there last year, we were impressed with their length. They were a long ball club, and we'll probably be impressed again this year. On the defensive side of the ball, they got a dang on defensive end that got a great motor, number 90. Very disruptive. Got a really good dang on defensive tackle. I think they got an all-conference linebacker in number 1. I think they're really solid at the corner spot, safety spot. They'll get downhill. Look like they're running a lot more cover 2 this year. But they're a 2-high team. They're mixing some cover 1, some cover 3. But they're a good ball club. Like I said, I can't take nothing away from them. They beat us last year, and now, we get a chance to get them up here, get them up to Carrollton. I think it'll be probably their first time ever in Carrollton, too.
Right.
So it'll be different for them. So hopefully our crowd, man, gives them a earful.
That's right. Well, fans, if you can't be at University Stadium on Saturday afternoon at 2 o'clock, shame on you. But if you can't, be sure to check out all the action. You can do that a couple of different ways. You can listen to my call along with Parker Gore on ESPN Plus, or you can go to the UWG Game Day app and stream it on your streaming device or UWG Athletics website. Or you can listen to Seth Kane and Nick White on Granite Communications, KISS 102.7, the official radio partner of UWG Wolves football. So for head coach Joe Taylor.
Hey, that was a mouthful right there. So there should be no reason why anybody should not catch the game.
Exactly, Coach. All right, so for head coach Joel Taylor, I'm Patrick Edson. We'll see you next week here on the Joel Taylor Show.